This is Gemara Horayos, Daf Yud Gimel Agutavach, or the learning for this month, the month of Elul, as we near the end of Mesechus Horayos, the end of Seder Nizikin B'Siyata Dishmaya, has been sponsored by a close friend to the Daf as an incredible Schos Aliyas Neshama for Aster Reyzel Basra Meir. The incredible Koyach HaTorah should continuously bring the Neshama to a higher and higher place in Gan Eden Shel Mailam. So we're holding on the bottom of Yud Beis Mid Beis. We begin a Mishnah. Now the klal, the rule in this Mishnah is a famous one, but we'll see it as it will apply to our topics here in Horayos. Says the Mishnah, Kol ha'tadir mechaveroi koidem es chaveroi. Tadir v'sheinoi tadir koidem, the famous rule, whatever is more constant, more frequent than something else, comes before the other item. And the second rule, anything which is more holy comes before the other item. And now, based on these rules, so explains the Mishnah. Par Mashiach upar ha'ida. If you have two different karbanos, you have the par Mashiach of the Kohen Gadol and the par ha'ida and the par of the people. Oimdim, the two of them are standing, and we want to know which one should be brought first. Says the Mishnah, Par Mashiach Koydem Par Ida Bechol Maisav, in all its procedures. Says the Gemara, Mina Hani Mili. We're now going to go. We had two rules in the Mishnah. Tadir Mekudash. Says the Mishnah. How do we know this? Amar Abaya Damar Kra. We learn out from the pasuk. Once it says Oilas Biker, Oilas Hatamid, Lamali, what does it have to say the Oilas Hatamid? Of course, that's Oil of the Biker. So explains the Gemara, Achi Kamer Achmana. This is what the Torah is teaching us. Called it Tadira, Kadma. That whatever is Tadir, whatever is more common, comes first. The second rule in the Mishnah, where do we know it from? Rabbi Ishmael, Viki Dashta. He says the Torah shall sanctify him. This teaches that the Kohen comes first. V'kidash Toi, referring to the Kohen, he comes first for all matters of kedusha. Levtoyach rishon levarech rishon. Everything he comes first. He reads the Torah first. He says the bracha first at a meal. V'lito mani yafa rishon. He takes the first portion when we're giving out food. So two different rules. And then the Mishnah continued, and the Mishnah said, so now if we have a clash of the Par Kohen Mashiach versus the Par Ha'ida, as we turn over to Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, says the Gemara, quoting the Mishnah, Par Kohen Mashiach, Par Ha'ida, says the Mishnah, the Par Mashiach comes first. Minani Mili, Titan Rabba, Nam Visarva, Sekasher Saraf Esapar, should burn it like you burn the Par Matam Eloimar. Harishayin. Why does the pasuk continue say matam leimer? What does the pasuk mean when it says harishayin? Harishayin. Now what? Sherishayin. That it should be first. Kaidin lepara ida b'chol ma'isa. That it comes before everything else. That the par kohen mashuach comes before the para ida for everything. Tana Rabbanan continues the Gemara with another makar to the sin that we just quoted. Par kohen mashiach. What's the reason? They're both coming along to effect kapara. So din who the din is sheyaktim hamachaper limischaper, that the one that gives kapara, the kohen gadol, should come before the one that gets the kapara, klal Yisrael. So says the Gemara now, it's a kal v'chaymer. It's logical. Dinhu, that of course the Kohen Gadol should come first. And from there we learn out the same. Says the Gemara. So now let's go into other karbanos. Parelim davar shal tzibur koidem, the par shal avodas lavim. The parelim davar comes before the par of avodas zara. My taima. Hi chatos, v'hai oila. Vitanya, we learned in a Raiza. Asher lachatos rishayna, and he should bring the one that is for the chatos first. What's that teaching us? If it's coming to teach us the chatas rishayna, require never vesa sheni yase oila. Kimishvats already know that the first is the chatas. Elazeh bana. This is teaching us to the kol atayir kol achatois koin ma'is la'oilis, that the chatas always comes before the oilam. Habayim imayim v'kaim alon, and we learn from here in the first variable line tafilu chatas oif koidemes la'oilas behema. Continues the Gemara. If we have the power of a Zara versus the seer of the Zara, says the Gemara, Amai, why does the power come first? And therefore we just said the Chata should come first, not the Oila. So explains the Gemara, Amri b'marava, they said, Mishmei de Rava, Bar Mari, Chatas aviz chavim, Chasira Aleph. When the Torah says the Chatas of the Zara, it's written chatos without an aleph, and it shows us that this chatos is lacking, that this chatos, la chatos ksiv, is not going to come first. Rava says another Joshua, kimishvat ksiv bey, says kimishvat, that shows us that it's the way that it says it in the pasuk, and therefore again, it's not going to follow the regular rules of chatos or oila. Continues the Gemara, chavim kodim l'sir nasi, my taima. Hi, Sibir Vayachid. Sir Nasi, going to the Sir is Yachid. So now the Nasi versus the Yachid. The Nasi is going to come first. Again, even though both of these are singular karbanos. My taima. Hi, Melech Vayhedit. Sir is Yachid. Kedem is the Kisvas Yachid. I Votani Kisvas Yachid. Dem is the Sir is Yachid. Amrabaya Tanoyi. Mar Savar Sir Adifa. Why Shkinis Rabbi Tzavah is Chapim B'Yachid. Mar So Kivza Adifa Shkinis Rabbi Be'aliyah. I made Koidem Lekeves. Continues the Gemara, the Oimer, comes before the Keves Habayim Mai, the Keves, the sheep that's brought with it. Shte'alechem kodim lekvasim Habayim imahim. Zeh haklal. Davar haba begin liyoim kodim ledavar haba begin lechem. Concludes the first half of today's share that the rule is anything that comes because of the day, the yoim, the kedushas hayoim, that comes before something that's coming because of the lechem, and that's the reason why the oila, the oimer is going to come before the keves, and the shtei lechem is going to come before the kevasim. Says the Mishnah, now that we have this rule of tadir and mekudash with regard to karbanais, says the Gemara, the Mishnah, 8 lines into the white lines, and the Gimel Amalef ha'ish kaidem leisha lahachayois. A man comes before a woman with regarding to sustaining life. Ha'ish comes before the Isha, ulahashev aveda, and to return aveda. Va'isha kaidemis leish lechasois, and a woman comes before a man to cover, to clothe, ulahaitzi mi bein hashevi, to release from captivity. Then a woman comes first. If they're both about to be degraded, then ha'ish kaidem leisha, then a man comes before the woman. Tana Rabbanan says the Gemara, a person, his father and his Rebbe are in captivity. Who kaidim the Rabbi? The halach is he comes before his Rebbe, but the Rabbi kaidim the Aviv, the Rebbe comes before his father. And imai kaidemes the kulam, the mother comes for all of them, and this follows the rule that when it comes to the Shevi, when it comes to captivity, the disgrace of the woman is going to be more. We have to be worried that she's going to be forced to have relations, and therefore, imay kadems lekulam. Chacham kaidim lemelech, continues the Gemara. Chacham comes before a king. Israel chacham shemeis eyed. Chacham kaidem lemelech Yisrael. Chacham shemeis ein lanu keyotze bai. There's nothing like it. Melech Yisrael shemeis kol Yisrael ru'im lemalchus. All of Kal Yisrael roi for such. Melech kaidem lekoyin gadol shenemar. V'emer hamelech aleim lam kechu imachem me'avdei adonechem. Koyin gadol kaidem lenavi shenemar mashach osai shem sadik hakoyin v'nasan hanavi hektim v'nasan hanavi hektim sadik lenasan. So we see in the pasuk it first says sadik, then it says nasan, showing us that the Kohen Gadol comes before the Navi. V'omer Shema no Yeshua Kohen Gadol ata v'rei echa. Yachal, I would think, had the Sayu, we would think that perhaps the psukim over here are referring to that they are Nevi'im, Talmud Leimer, Kanshe Meifis, Hema, the Anshe Meifis, meaning miracles, meaning Nevuah. Vein Meifis, Elanavi, Shnem, Vanasan Alecha, Isai Meifis. Mashuach, Beshem, and Amishra, Kodim, Ruba, Begadim. The Kohen Gadol that has the anointing oil comes before the Kohen Gadol that just wears the 8 garments. Ruba, Begadim, Kodim, Mashiach, Shavar. Machmas Keryav. Mashiach, Shavar, Machmas Keryav. If there's a Kohen Gadol that was Mashuach, Beshem, and Amishra, but now he's not part of doing the avodah because of carry. He comes koidem le'avar machmas mumai. If it comes before a kohen gadol that was taken out of his avodah because of a mum. Avar machmas mumai. Koidem le'mashuach melchama. Mashuach melchama koidem l'skan kohen. L'skan is koidem le'amarkel. Amarkel, one of the officers. Maya Markel says Gemara Rav Chisda Amar Kula. Amar Kula. He said, Amarkel he said everything. He was the one in charge of all the different items going on in the Beis HaMikdash. The Amarkel is Kodim LeGizbar. Gizbar is Kodim LeRoish Mishmar. Roish Mishmar Kodim LeRosh Beisav. Rosh Beisav Kodim LeKohen. He had these different people in charge of different groups in the Beis HaMikdash. Ibayu Leho says the Gemara Linyin Toma. Skana Moshoch Melchama Izem and Kodim Amar Zechah Bereit Rav Nachum and Tashma Detanya. Skana Moshoch Melchama Shehayu Mahalchem Bader Rechu Paga Behem Meis Mitzvah Mutav Shita Mashuach Melchama Val Yitma Skan. We were at the Mashuach Masham Kamtame before the Skan. Why? Because the Skan was the assistant Kohen Gadol, and therefore Shimra Psil Kohen Gadol. What would happen? Whereas the Mashuach Melchama was only needed for wars. So to keep him alive, to sustain him, then the Mashuach Melchama is going to come first. But when it comes to the Stam Halachais, then one of them becoming Tameh, we want to keep around the Skan just in case the Kohen Gadol becomes Tameh. Continues the Mishnah. Kohen Kodim LeLevi, Levi Yisrael. Yisrael Mamzer, Mamzer Nisin Leger Veger Laved Mishoch Rafid Avrim Masev Zan Shekulon Shavin Avalim Hayya Mamzer Talmud Chacham, a famous Mishnah. A Mamzer, a child born out of wedlock, a child born from illicit union. But if he's a Kohen Talmud Chacham, the Kohen Gadol Amaretz, the Kohen Gadol is an Amaretz, then what? Mamzer Talmud Chacham Koidem the Kohen Gadol Amaretz. We see the utmost power that the Torah gives to the Torah, that even though he's a Mamzer, but if he's a Talmud Chacham, he comes first. Says the Gemara, Kohen Gadol Levi Shenavani Amram Aaron Moshe V'Avdel Aaron La'akev like Tisha Kodesh Kadashim Levi Kohen Li Yisrael Shenemar Beisi Avdel Shemes Sheva Levi Mitach Yisrael Kohen Mamzer Shem Yuchav Zen Yuchas. The Mamzer has no Yichas, no lineage. Mamzer Kohen Asim Zeba Mitipa Kisherav Zeba Mitipa Ksura. The Mamzer at least at some level of kashus to his parents. Nisin Kohen Leger Zegod Limana B'Kedusha Zegod Limana B'Kedusha. Excuse me, the Ger grew up not from, not Jewish, excuse me. Ger couldn't have a Meshocher, Zeh B'chal Aror, V'zeh B'chal Aror, and Eved is included in the curse. Eimasa Evzan Kishu Kulin Shav in the Mishnah concluded, but a Mamzer Tam B'chacham comes first, Minahani Mili. Says the Gemara, Amar Avach, B'Rebbi Chanina Damar Kra, Yikra Hi, Yikara Hi Mipnimim. It is more precious, Yikara, than even pearls. That's the Torah. Kohen Gadol shtichlis of naiv lefnim. It's even more precious than the Kohen Gadol that goes with naiv lefnim. Tanya Rashbi Aimer Evdinu Shiyaktim Evan Meshuchel Ger. The Evan should come first. Shay Gadol Imana Bikdusha. Ela Gadol Imana Bikdusha. Elazeli B'chal Arav Zeli B'chal Arav. The Evan Lemais is cursed. Shalu Talmidim is Ever Rav Sadik. Talmidim asked Rav Sadik. Then they ma call Ratzin Lisa Geires. You know, call Ratzin Lisa Meshucheres. Why is everyone agreeable to marry a ger but not to an Evan Meshucher? The same reason. And Evan Lamaisa has a curse. Says the Gemara, another reason is that when it comes to the Geires, we assume that she was shamor, she was guarded, but an Evan is not. An Evan in general has a level of Afkerus that you never know what they might have done. And Rashi says, the Mefarish says a little bit more, because a Geires maybe always had Hiruri, always thought she might have done Shuvah, so she's not going to be completely Hefker. What is the reason that a dog recognizes his owner? V'chatol eino makar es kanim, not a cat. So Rav Elazar responds, the one who eats from a mouse that ate from, he forgets. Alachas kam v'kam lachas. If you eat something that a mouse ate from, you forget your thing. So the one who eats the mouse, the cat, certainly doesn't know his owner. What is reason all creatures are dominant over mice? Surah and Rav Elazar responds, because they are evil. Maihi, what's the evil? Rav Amar afilu glimi geitza. They gnaw through not only edible items, even garments. They eat through even items they don't have satisfaction. So the mouse is at the bottom of the totem pole. Rav Papa Amar afilu shafta mar geitza. They gnaw through even the handle of a spade. Meaning the mouse is at the bottom of everything because it does things that doesn't even have benefit from, and therefore all creatures rule over it. We turn over to Yigim Lamed Beis. It continues the Gemara on the second line. Gemara Gates. Five things cause one forget their Torah. Eat something from the mouse ate, as we just saw a moment ago. Something that a cow ate. With the heart of an animal. You have a lot of olives. You eat the water that was left over from bathing. You wash your feet one on top of another. Now this is actually fascinating because the Kaihanim, according to one sheet, that's how they would wash their hands. By Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim, yeah, by Kaihanim it was Dover Shebekdusha, and therefore would not cause them to forget. You put your clothing under your head. This is the raya, that there's no problem sleeping in your clothing, but there's a problem sleeping on top of your clothing being your pillow. Chamisha Dvarim continues the Gemara, five things cause a person to restore his learning. 8 lines down, bread from charcoal, and the charcoal themselves. You eat a lightly roasted egg, salt. Wine, the water from the leftover dough. You dip your finger in salt and you eat it. Of course, everyone wonders that one of the lists of forgetting things was zaytim. One of the lists of remembering things is olive oil. This is Chanukah Torah. We see what happens when you take the olives and you crush them into olive oil. The crushing process. That's the Torah. Torah is daimet to zaytim. The crushing process. Ira Zutaira, the Menorah, is that which makes you remember it. The Amilos, the toil. And that's why the Shem Zayis is good for memory. Haragol b'Shem Zayis Mesiyeli, the Rav Yechon, Dam Rav Yechon, Shem Zayis b'Shakech Limba Shel Shem Shana. Kach Shem Zayis Meishav Limba Shel Shem Shana. It brings back Torah from even 70 years. The truth is, we're going to go a job further. We're going to pull up a little bit short for the simple reason, if you look over the next Amid, Yudalit is a very short Amid, so we're going to leave a little bit from Yigim Lamed Beis. Let's go a job further. Haragol b'Yainu b'Samim Aseli the Rava Damarava Chama v'Rechanda. It causes one to be smart. That's why says Reish Lakish, it's why you have to dip with one finger. Kitanai. Like the simon of kimitza, that's you remember that kimitza is done with 3 fingers. Asar devarim kashan limut. 10 things are bad for learning. You pass underneath the halter, the saddle of the camel. The camel itself. You walked in 2 camels. You walked in 2 women. This, of course, is a difficult one. You're walking in public. You're walking at a kiddush. Got to be careful. You don't walk between 2 women. Woman walks in 2 men. You pass by the foul-smelling odor of a nevela. A bridge there's not water for 40 days. You eat. Excuse me, bread that wasn't cooked fully. We meat from a grease spoon, listerine. You drink straight from the stream of water. That water, is the water that goes to a cemetery. You look at the dead body. You read the tombstones. So just to mention, when it says that you pass between 2 women, one forgets the learning. So the shaila is, what's the eitzah? Different things are brought down, but one of them is if you either hold on to something, or if you hold on to Avasheh B'Kedusha, that's why people have the minhag to hold on to their tzitzis, or at least hold on to the garment, or to hold on to another person. We're going to stop over here in the first Y line, so that tomorrow we'll finish up Yud Gimel and Beis, as well as Yudalid B'Siyata Dishmaya.